Dun, 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 dun. It's probably going to be a copyright strike now, but whatever.
Oh my god, Avengers Endgame.
Before we start, let's just make this clear. We're going to do a segment of non-spoiler. We're going to fade to black, do an ad roll. Then we're going to tell you spoilers involved what we thought.
We'll give you lots of warning when the spoiler section starts, so you don't need to worry. You'll have lots of time to turn off.
Yeah.
But holy fucking shit!
Guys, okay, I think the first thing is...
Wait, shut up!
Okay. Drop. I think the first thing really is, was this the ending everyone was...
Was it the end game?
Was it the end game? Was it the happy ending? You know, I've always loved good old happy endings, and today, my friend, I think it's a happy ending.
This one only cost Sam $12.
Only $12. Damn, that's a bargain, everybody.
So, okay, overall high-level thoughts to start with. Yeah, this is absolutely a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant finale for the Avengers series, the Avengers saga.
Yeah.
But also the way that it reached into the other franchises and the other movies and the way it connected all those together.
Sure.
It was utterly Herculean the way that
great.
it did this. It was amazing the way that it was able to bring all of this entire Marvel universe together in one movie and land it like this.
Yeah.
I was blown away by that.
I think that the more movies that have been introduced, the more characters, the bigger the task has been for Avengers to kind of hold it all together. You know,
Yes.
it's become more and more like Game of Thrones, where everything's just like there's so much shit going on.
Who's
you
that
don't
guy
know
again?
what's going on.
What's that? What did he fight
Exactly.
him? Did they ever make out?
All that stuff,
Is
right?
he dead yet? You know?
But with this, it really felt like I don't think they could have done a better job of keeping it all together and making it feel like the grand finale that I fucking wanted.
I just have so much respect for this writing staff because I think as well, I actually didn't really like the last Avengers movie that much. Like, I thought it was a cool movie in many regards, but I really didn't like its pacing because it felt like a lot of the time you were cutting back to different scenes.
Sure.
And it felt very disconnected, like Thor putting his hammer or his axe together. You were like, oh, come on, man, we keep coming back to this. We know what you're doing. You're building an axe. We get it.
Like the giant Tyrion.
Yeah, the giant Tyrion.
Ridiculous.
So, like, all of that stuff really felt like you were cobbling together a whole bunch of stories that weren't really connected properly, and it hurt the movie's pacing a lot.
Definitely.
But this, none of that. And there are so many stories happening, there are so many things going on, but at no point in time do any of them feel disconnected from the central plot.
Yeah.
It was just the writing staff, incredible.
I agree.
Geniuses.
And I think that this movie especially needed an emotional depth to it that, you know, we did see in the previous Avengers short, and it kind of led up. The previous Avengers also had that, but this one really brought it home. I think this story wasn't so much about the action of Avengers. It was really about the characters' journeys and, like, you know, the emotional now pith the emotional depth of the characters. And I think that it was just perfectly done. If we just saw freaking 3 hours of just like punching and heaps of battles, I would have walked out going, cool, that's great, but that's not really what people want now.
It was just a DC movie.
Yeah, that's pretty much just DC.
Oh, shit.
But even then, they still suck.
Fuck Batman. I think hand in hand with that, like, the way that characters are handled in this, because there are some really big changes with the characters, really unexpected stuff.
Yeah.
I think almost all of them are fantastic. You know, some of them are hilarious and they just so out of left field, but so good. Some of them are, I think, I'm like, I wouldn't have made the same choice as that, but I see why you did that and I see what you're doing with it. It's good.
Yeah, I think it's good how they've kind of rejuvenated this in a way, or they've kind of reinvented certain characters, or they've reinvented some of those characters. And I think it was much needed. If we saw 4 movies of the same type of stuff, cool, it would have worked, but like it definitely fits in this what they've done. And that's not spoiler, okay? That's just, you know, but all up, you know, do I think anyone should see this movie that even likes a little bit of Marvel or a little bit of Avengers? I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised. It's probably the best Marvel movie I've ever seen, personally. I mean, I think a lot of people will also feel and share that sentiment.
I think it is the best of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
In all aspects.
In all aspects.
Story,
it's just
action.
everything about it. It's the best they've ever done. It's really incredible. It better get a whole bunch of Academy Award nominations.
I don't think a Marvel movie an superhero movie has ever won anything.
I think Black Panther won something.
Oh, okay, cool. And maybe Dark Knight, I think, won some shit.
I think it did as well, actually.
Yeah, okay.
Logan should have won some shit.
Yeah.
So I think, like, in my tier list of superhero movies now, we have, like, Batman, like the Dark Knight trilogy, and then Logan. And then I think sort of spliced in there is like the first 2 Spider-Man movies, the original ones.
And number 3, of course.
Number 3.
The dance scene.
But then I really feel like this is like number 4 for me because it was just so excellent, exceeded all expectations. The guy next to me was like was sobbing.
I thought Ralph was crying.
Sam thought I was crying.
Ralph was next to me, and then he was next to another guy. And when we finished, I said to Ralph, "God, you really lost, man. You really lost it." And he was like, "No, that wasn't me."
Yeah,
it was Ralph. Everybody, he was just a little bit, you know,
this
he was
guy
embarrassed.
Next to me was like doing these ones, like trying to hide it, like.
That's what I was doing. These ones, like. Everyone knows that real men don't cry. Okay, so that's just terrible.
So, and then he wasn't just crying at the emotional bits. He was crying in like the nerd bits where like the stuff was happening and all the shit was all this like overwhelmed with awesomeness, and he was crying.
I nearly got there actually. In those moments, I nearly teared up. I was like, "Oh my god, this is too much."
Yeah, it's
Let's get to the spoiler bit.
I agree. All right, so that's the end of the video. For if you don't want any spoilers, Avengers Endgame is fucking amazing. Go and see it. And we're gonna cut now, and when we come back, we are doing a full spoiler discussion. So I think the very first. Okay, am I starting, Sam?
I'm going to let Ralph start.
Thank you very much. So I think the first thing that really interested me about this film, that really shattered my expectations immediately, was that Thanos dies in like the first 10 minutes.
Totally,
right?
Yeah.
So you kind of imagine this is going to be a movie where, you know, you're going to be fighting Thanos. How do we do this? There's something we need to find this stuff. Boom. As soon as the first 10 minutes, his head's off.
Yeah.
And that was when I was like, okay, cool. You're going to do something interesting here.
I'm glad they did that, though.
So did I, because it really just sort of set an entirely new tone that they could pursue.
Yeah.
Where they, after that, were really talking about like what it was like to lose people. It was set 5 years later then.
Yes.
You know, and that sense of grief that people were experiencing.
Yeah.
That was such a great opening act for the movie.
I think that if we went down that, you know, kind of cookie cutter, the villain's still alive, you got to try and kill him at the end. I mean, sure, it would have worked still, but like they did something here that was necessary, I think, for them to walk away with the crown of the greatest Avengers and maybe the greatest Marvel movie. It was just so unexpected.
Yes.
It really, you're right, it reset the tone, and I think a lot of people in the audience, definitely me, was like, okay, who is now the villain? Is this going to be the villain still? Like, oh, my whole... I didn't know where this was going. That's what I wanted.
When I saw that it was 5 years in the future, I was like, okay, this is probably going to be a time travel movie.
Back to the Avengers.
Yeah, it's very much that.
Yeah, very much actually.
And I think the way it set it up was kind of cool because obviously, you know, Paul Rudd, Ant-Man, comes in. He's like, "Hey, I got this plan," and then he
looks so good for 50.
He's
Ralph was
50
like,
years
he's 50,
old.
by the way. I'm like, oh my
50.
God.
What the fuck?
I look older than him for
way
God's sakes.
older.
What
Everyone
the
thinks
fuck?
that Sam's older than me, by the way. And
Jesus.
I'm older than him by like 6 years.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's all the smoking, Sam's doing. So anyway, Paul Rudd sets up the thing. We can go back. They need to get Tony Stark back on board. He's not very keen, but obviously he buckles. He figures out time travel
as you do
overnight.
In like 5 seconds. He's like, Jarvis, try this.
Oh,
here it is, by the way. Oh, cool. Thanks a lot. Like it's
time travel.
It's kind of ridiculous how
super
that happens.
stupid.
But I think the whole time travel thing, like, it is so Back to the Future because
the whole movie
they have
is
to
Back to the
hide
Future.
from themselves in previous years, and it's kind of cool. But again, I think that's why it was so great at tying everything together because you kind of do get to revisit those previous moments that you've loved about Avengers.
When I saw it was a time travel movie, I was actually really bummed because I'm like, how lazy! You're just gonna go back and stop the thing from happening. It's dumb, super predictable. But what they did instead was they went back into specific moments in time with the previous movies, and they looked at how can we like inject ourselves into those to take the Infinity Stones. And it was kind of like so brilliant to see those stories retold from a different perspective, and the way that and this is where, as I said, my respect for the writers comes in. To keep all of this together, you know, so many movies all at once, so many characters, different storylines, different timelines, and to keep all of this moving without it feeling like, what's going on? Who's that? How is this all? To keep all of that together, amazing.
I agree.
Truly
I think
amazing.
to keep it, I mean, it had 3 hours. It is a long movie, but
you don't feel it.
Yeah, you don't feel it, and I think that, you know, yes, it could have. It is very Back to the Future in the way they've done it, but again, it's so unique in the way that they've done it at the same time. Like, it does feel like it's kind of reinvented the time machine style movie. You know,
Not
like,
reinvented, I'd say.
Well, you know what I mean.
Just
Like
a really good take on it.
Yeah, like a fresh, hot, new take. That's what I'm trying to say. Where I was a bit worried when I first saw that. Like, okay, are we just going to see this shit all over again? But look, one thing I will say as we transition now to the characters in Avengers Infinity War, I felt like Thanos' character was definitely more fleshed out. Like, you understood a lot more, like, why he was doing these things, and I understood that they didn't have to do it again with this one. They don't have to like tell us again why he's doing everything. But in this one, you didn't really there was nothing to Thanos that was new.
He was a little bit more one-dimensional this time.
Definitely.
But only in the sense that like they didn't develop him further. He was still Thanos with all the depth and all his story and all that perspective.
Sure.
It's just that his character was not further developed this time around.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that because there was so much development happening on the other character's side that it just would have been probably overloaded had they tried.
Maybe. I just feel like that, half of the appeal, I think, of Avengers Infinity War was to understand the villain and understand the complexity of him. And that's why Dark Knight was so good with Joker, where like there's just such an emphasis on understanding that villain, and Infinity War did that really well. With this one, you didn't really see that, but you're right. The actual characters themselves, there's so much time spent on understanding like the relationships and like building that emotional depth, and like it was just so well done. And that's why we said before in the non-spoiler part, it's not an action film; it's more like an emotional drama. This whole thing,
except when we deal with Fungus.
Fungus, everybody!
That's Big Thor.
Have you seen Big Thor? We're
coining
that. We're coining that meme right now. There it is. I'm going to put it on the screen. That's Fungus, okay?
Fungus.
It's going to go around now.
When he rocked up, I was like, yes.
Yeah, me too.
This is what you needed to do to Thor
to
keep him cool.
Totally.
He's got a massive beer gut. He looks like an Aussie surfer who's just spent he's playing Fortnite on the couch
and yelling. Who's the guy again? What's his name?
I forget his name.
Oh, he's so cool.
He's the best, though.
Got the Wi-Fi over there.
Feel free to log into the Wi-Fi, bro. He's like,
but there's one character you didn't like, and that's Hulk. You didn't like the Hulk transformation.
The Hulk transformation, I wasn't a fan of, because what happened obviously was that like Hulk now is merged with the intelligence of Bruce Banner and the physique of the Hulk.
Sure.
And I really feel like
he looked like a total stud, like a green stud.
I reckon the core tension or core idea of that character is the tension between Bruce Banner and Hulk. And when you rip that out of the character, I really think you've lost a lot. Like, I really did not like this Hulk at all. Like, he was just kind of... And he didn't really do much fighting either. A little bit. Like, I don't know, just... You saw angry Hulk at one point in time during when they go back to New York, and you're like, yes, that's Hulk.
Yes.
And then you see like new Hulk just like pretend to be that Hulk. You know what I mean?
But I think that's where the comedy lied, because I just think that we've seen so many times that Bruce was fighting with that duality, and I think it's nice that even if it never happens again, just one movie we see them put together and how they would coexist at the same time if they live in each other's bodies, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it was comical, and it lightened up the whole movie to see him having to like be in this world and taking photos with fans. Like, it was funny, and I didn't mind that personally. If we saw that going forward forever, I'd be like, okay, cool, we've lost Hulk. I just think it's going to be the one time personally.
Yeah, totally. And I think as well, even the two lesser characters in the Marvel universe, I think, like...
Brie Larson, you mean?
Hawkeye and Black Widow, right?
Yeah.
They often don't get the limelight. I think they had probably like one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
Definitely.
When they were fighting to determine who gets to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen a scene that tried to do that. Like, where two people were literally fighting each other tooth and nail for the chance to kill themselves, It was such an interesting twist on a showdown, but such a great way to do it. It was just perfect, and the way that Black Widow was sent off was pretty cool. Nothing like the end, which we'll come to later.
Sure.
But it was really great, like homage to her character. It really showed her sense of sacrifice and what she was willing to put on the line, and it gave Hawkeye the chance to reunite with his family, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I think that taking Hawkeye out of the previous one was actually a really good move, because a lot of people were like, where the hell is Hawkeye? Now he's back, and there's an emphasis and there's an importance on that character. Before, I mean, he kind of was just like a side dude,
He's got a bow and arrow. What are you doing
here?
Yeah,
and now he feels a lot more like, he's
part of the family.
Definitely. So I think that his part was really good. I think all the Avengers played a really integral part. At the same time, no one stole the show. Like, there was an equal amount of time, but it did center around the original Avengers, of course.
And I had one concern that like Captain Marvel, because she's so powerful, would just come in and be like, flick Thanos, and it's just kind of like,
I wanted to see Thanos. I wanted to see the Thanos thing, where Ant-Man goes in Thanos' anus and just explodes him. That's what I wanted to see, but I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, it's a very well managed character in this movie.
Well managed, everybody.
Oh my god, I said something good about Captain Marvel. Our channel's ruined now. Here come the downvotes. You know, basically she comes in all cocky and she's like, I got this, I'm gonna go kill Thanos. And, you know, eyes are rolling. It's like, okay, relax, please.
Yeah.
And then the team themselves, like the Avengers, are like, listen, we're a team here. Everyone works together. Just cool your jets. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So,
If we do this, how do we know it's gonna end any differently than it did before?
Because before you didn't have me.
Hey, new girl. Everybody in this room is about that superhero life. And if you don't mind my asking, where the hell have you been all this time?
I feel like that almost spoke to the audience's concerns that she would come along and just like one-shot Thanos and that would be the end of it.
Sure.
And instead they handled much better. And then she only makes an appearance at the end of the movie where she kind of like KOs the ship and then she has a bit of a tussle with Thanos and that's it. So the story was saved by the original Avengers. The day was saved by them. It was not saved by Johnny Come Lately or Janie Come Lately.
Lol.
Boom!
That's staying in. That's cringe
That's
factor.
cringe
There you
factor
go. Make sure you
9000.
downvote that.
It was not saved by Captain Marvel, who, you know, was obviously was a late addition to this whole Marvel universe. So
Definitely.
I'm really glad that they respected those original characters.
Yeah, I know in 2019 we are seeing, you know, a lot of movies or a lot of representation that they want to make sure is in movies, and that's great. But I really like the idea that this movie was really about, cool, all different types of genders, all different types of superhero movies, superheroes in general, but it was really about the core people coming back together and like, you know, a huge finale surrounded about them.
Except for that one moment where all the female Avengers assemble. Yeah?
They get together like, we got this, ladies. It was very cool. About 5 seconds.
I wish we had a clip of that so we could just play like, you know, like
Yeah,
I am woman, hear me roar, like over the top of it, you know? And look, here's the thing, I know that scene's gonna trigger a lot of people. I know there's gonna be all these videos all over YouTube being like, oh my god. But look, the movie is like 98% dudes beating each other up.
Yeah.
There's a 5-second clip of some women doing it.
Yeah,
You know what
I
mean?
know,
Like,
I
everybody chill the fuck out.
Yeah, I personally don't mind seeing that because it was like a little
whatever,
moment
man.
of just showing all the you know, the powerful chicks doing their thing. I love that. It's all good.
We've attracted so many downvotes with
Yes,
this now. The
but-
channel is ruined forever. It's gone. Delete it from YouTube.
What I did like, it was, again, it wasn't forcing down your throat
No,
any
it
of these,
wasn't.
you know, it was just like, hey, this is the freaking Marvel Avengers movie. Let's go kick some butts. It doesn't matter about what's happening in 2019 or whatever. It wasn't about that, and I really liked that. And I think other movies like Star Wars definitely try and stuff things down your throat. Avengers is not doing that, which I think is good.
I do agree with that. I do
Totally.
agree. I think, obviously, you know, some of the biggest moments, you know, obviously in that last fight scene where everybody gets on the field. And that was just such an incredibly epic moment.
I don't think I've ever seen a more epic moment. Like, probably the only epic moment I can think of was maybe Star Wars Attack of the Clones when all the fucking Jedi came out in that huge arena. That was probably the same level of like, holy shit, that I've experienced.
It was a lot of emotion and history and characters that you've loved for like a decade,
Many
really.
years.
And even
Some of them longer.
well before then, if you're a
Yeah.
fan of the comics and the cartoons and all sort of shit. All just assembling on the battlefield at this one time where it's like, this is the fight of our lives. You know? So that was when the guy next to me started crying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I nearly cried. I was like, oh my god! But I think this is so good because it's a celebration of just absolutely like world-changing IP in terms of just like the amount of like, you know, love and affection everyone has for these superheroes and the movies that have now spanning back more than a decade. Like, it's just such a great moment that I think everyone will love because it does give them just this kind of pivotal moment of like, boom, you know, and I think it really needed that.
It's a pivotal
Boom.
moment of boom. There you go, ladies and
that's
gentlemen.
the only way I can put it into words. Like, pivotal moment of boom, everybody, and it was absolutely fantastic.
And then the fight scene that I think a particular highlight was when Cat finally picked up the hammer, you know, and he started swinging it. That was fucking amazing.
I was like, holy shit! it was
so good.
fucking play the game shit. It was so amazing to see that. And I mean, it was not even like hinted at like prior in the movie at all.
They had a hint like in a previous trailer. And no, actually, when the scene of one of the Avengers where they're playing that party game and they're drinking,
but he couldn't pick it up.
He moved it, and that's when Thor got really. He was like, huh. You know,
oh,
like,
remember that now. Yeah. Okay. So it was good to see that. It's also good to see Captain America's ending.
Yes.
To see him kind of have a happy life. And I think all like a lot of good superhero movies, just like The Dark Knight did, or Dark Knight Rises, you know, Bruce Wayne got to have his happy ending, you know, and I think that's really good to see with Steve Rogers, that you get to see him kind of live the life he always wanted.
Exactly right.
But one character didn't get to live the life that he wanted, everybody, and that is good old Stark. Okay.
Rip Tony.
And he does die in this one, but I think that, you know, it needed that emotional kind of oomph to bring it home. Because if someone didn't sacrifice, I think at the end, I think
Black Widow already had.
Sure, but I mean, like
I think that final battle. Yes, she is an original. But I think that final battle though, it needed that kick, and also as well. You know, again, like Black Widow was not, and like Hawkeye, for example, they weren't as central to the story.
They weren't.
I mean, like they were. Like Black Widow was obviously with all the movies, but I think just Tony Stark and Captain America were the two rocks on which the Avengers was built.
Really?
I mean, even Thor, I think he was more of a supporting
all
character.
white males, everybody. No, but
Hulk was a green male.
He was a green male.
No, but I just think like you had the two sort of strongest forces within the Avengers was like, you know, Tony Stark and Captain America.
Definitely.
And they both led the side of the Civil War and all that sort of stuff. So I think one of them, I said one of them was going to die this movie. It just had to be, you know. And I kind of predicted Captain America would die because like it was the end of his time and whatever else. But, you know, obviously, they chose Tony Stark, and that was the end of his journey. And he had a child as well. He leaves behind Pepper and his child, so it's very sad.
Pepper and Salt. The child was named Salt.
God.
No. I was just going to say, I do think that the whole movie led up to that moment in a way, because it was very much surrounded about Tony's new life and, you know, his choices that he had to make, and then his, you know, it was very much about that right up until the very moment where he had to decide to flick he did his finger thing with the Infinity thing on. I'm not explaining this well at all, but he had to make the choice and he did die.
And as well, this is not the first time he sacrificed either, because in the first movie he flew into the wormhole, remember, above New York City.
That's right.
And we thought he was all dead, but he wasn't. So you know, he often likes to play off that he doesn't really care and he's all about himself and whatever else. But obviously he's very selfless, and that sacrifice was, you know, shown on display here. The way that they sort of, you know, the funeral service and the, you know, commemoration afterwards was really beautiful. It was a really nice finish and send off to the whole thing. It was just the perfect goodbye for the series. And perfect as well, because it started with Tony Stark. It started with the Iron Man movie was the first in the Marvel Comics universe. You know, it really got everything going. So,
and it was a punt, you know, they were just like, give this a go. They'd seen the success from X-Men and Spider-Man, and he did, for me at least, and I think a lot of other people, he did represent, like, you know, the idea of the Avengers, the idea of, like, this whole thing coming about from a bit of a punt, and it was a good way to kind of kill him off, because it also, the funeral for me also represented the death of the Avengers saga. Like, it's all over, it's all finished, and it's saying goodbye in so many ways. So it was, you're right, it was perfectly done. I think everyone that watches this will think this is a great way to finish it.
You cannot, I don't think, if you're an Avengers fan, there's no way you're disappointed with this film. It's like if you're a Star Wars fan, you're absolutely disappointed with the new Star Wars films. If you're an Avengers fan, you're absolutely going to love this, and I just think it's such a big feat to pull off something of this scale and keep it all together at one time over the length of 3 hours. You know, there are very few sagas as epic as this. You had Star Wars, you've got Lord of the Rings, you've got the Avengers now. It's on that list of just truly epic films that nail it from start to finish.
And there's many movies that don't do it, like Transformers or The Matrix, or
Matrix, Jesus.
You know, or like there's so many trilogies
Jurassic Park.
like they just come along and they just can't hold up to the previous film, and these ones have done that. So they do. I think they'll stand the test of time, and I think that they will be in the Hall of Fame of trilogies, or whatever this is.
I really
Quadrilogy, or whatever it's called.
I really wonder where they go next with the Marvel universe. Like, because obviously you've got a few more movies that are coming, no question. But you know, with the Avengers, there's still a lot of money to be made there. I don't know that executives are going to want to leave that on the table. I'm sure they're going to figure out some way to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some kind of reboot of the Avengers with new Avengers or whatever.
Probably in 10 years' time. You know, I do think that. Hopefully they don't Star Wars it.
I'd be sad if they Star Wars'd it. I mean,
they could do that. There's definitely the IP that's strong enough, but like, I think if they were to do that, that's all well and good, but it needs 10 or 15 years, personally. But guys, check it out. It's absolutely fantastic. We couldn't say any bad things about it, really. I have no criticism
of this movie. I just don't. Like, what's wrong with the Avengers Endgame?
It was too short. It wasn't 4 hours.
It wasn't 4 hours. That's
It's very strange that Laymen don't have anything bad to say, people, but today you're going to see a one-off time. We're saying only good things, okay? Right. Check it out. It's awesome. It's in cinemas now.
Or maybe if they've seen this movie, like this video 6 weeks from now, or like 6 months from now, it's not in the movie, so then you just lied to them because it's not in cinemas now.
I don't think we should keep that in, personally.
I think we should end with that.
In cinemas now.